Does having a new running watch really help you conquer your running goals and the mountain of getting faster, better, and feeling stronger on your runs? We'll find that out just today as I'm going to review the COROS Pace 3. Now, I guess in the first impression side of things, here it kind of is, and I'm going to overlay some footage of me unboxing. It's already a little bit gross, so I should probably wash it. But basically, it's first thing I notice is it's super light, about 39 grams versus this is my old Garmin, which is about 50 grams, 51 grams. So already there's kind of like quite a difference in weight. And then also the strap's really easy to change out. There's a swap thing at the back. And this kind of like scroll wheel kind of reminded me of like the old iPod Touch or just iPods where you kind of circle and you like press. But when you press here, you get like a little tactile feedback and it's kind of really like cool. Now next we get to setting up the watch. It was super easy. You just kind of, it's already charged, so you can just turn it on straight away, select English, and then what you're gonna do is it's gonna come up with a QR code. You simply get your phone, open your camera, launch that up, and then it's gonna prompt you to download the app, and you get the COROS app. The app's actually really cool. I really like the interface. It's kind of like the Garmin, but it feels a little bit more like there's more going on, and it kind of feels like for those that really like data, you're gonna love this. So definitely give it a thumbs up for that. Now, if you kind of have a Garmin like me and you've logged like 500 runs on there or a crazy amount of activities, you can actually transfer those files over to here, which is cool. So you can kind of see them. But then the only thing I noticed is, and I'll kind of like have a little bit of instructions maybe on screen or kind of do it as a bonus separate video. The issue with that was, so it basically said like you've got an activity, but it didn't kind of register it in terms of how it affects your like actual current running performance, because it kind of analyzes that with this AI. So it was kind of like they were there, but it didn't really do anything. So that's okay, because like if you kind of think about it, if you're running with a watch and then you start running with this watch and you start, you know, getting better and better, that won't really matter per se. And, you know, you'll be able to set like better records and stuff. So that takes us to, I guess, yeah, so it's, I guess to like sum that up, it's free to transfer the data from the Garmin to here. You just have to basically send a request, an email. It's really easy to follow the prompts. And you can kind of put it all on here really sorted. So I guess the first way to test out how good this would go would be on my first long run. And this is kind of where it really shined. Long runs for me are over 12 Ks in distance. And I like long runs because you can get in the zone and you kind of get really steady with your pace. And so by doing so, what you want, and the benefit of this watch versus the Garmin, is that there's two sensors in it for like satellite and GPS, so it's more accurate. And kind of what that translates to is your running form in terms of your speed is more, I'd say, accurate. Therefore, you can kind of, you're more steady, you don't have to surge as much, which is really cool to kind of know that you can just chip away. And I found the interface really cool. Like when you hit go, basically before you start running, you have to kind of like press the start button, but before you start, there's like a pre-window. You have to stay still, it'll measure your heart rate, and then it will get the satellite calibration, then say you can go. And then you hit start and then it says go. So that's kind of really cool. So it kind of really helped in that long run because it kept me steady, it kept me focused. I didn't have to worry about kind of like speed as much because it kind of felt like it was, I don't know, like better. And then the interface itself for the running metrics was like heart rate was up top, which was kind of cool to see. Then it had, I think it was like running pace, and then it was running distance, which are kind of like key for me. And then as I've done more long runs, at the bottom, there's a black box, which kind of tells you the total running time distance, which is handy because if you're trying to say do a particular pace or you kind of want to know how long you've been running for, it can kind of give you a sense of where things are at. Because I noticed for long runs, because they're kind of like over an hour, and by the time you start, it can be a bit disorientating in terms of, well, actually, how long have I ran for? Which is really exciting to kind of have that better sense of what's going on. And I guess I like it because after you finish the long run, it gives you like a lot of the data straight away. So it says your distance, your splits, kind of your heart rate, your running power. So it's kind of gives you everything you need to know. Like you almost don't need to check the app, but it's just cool to know that you can read a lot of stuff actually on the watch itself. It's like very optimized for that. The watch itself, after the long run, it only went down like 2 or 3%. So the battery is like really strong on this. I think the benefit of this is because it doesn't have an OE LED screen or whatever, it like isn't as say bright. So I think that kind of saves a lot of its power. And I think that's a good thing because people would argue that you can't really see it in broad daylight if it's like a super sunny day. But then again, if you're like me and you run super early in the morning, it doesn't really matter as much. I don't think that's going to be as much of a consideration, especially if you kind of do like a lot of like eventually races or half marathons or 10Ks or 5Ks. They're all kind of done early in the morning. So it doesn't, you're not really going to be hottest part of the day running per se. It's just something to bear in mind for that. So I've kind of talked about accuracy. I really like the accuracy of this because it just feels like it's more in tuned, and this kind of helped me run my fastest 10K and kind of want to do faster runs. It just makes me feel assured that I'm not getting these weird dips as much. So it can kind of feel I'm not getting interrupted by if I run through trees or in a really weird spot. I mean, nothing's going to be perfect, but it just kind of helps you to not worry as much. And like, it's not that I'm worrying, but just to get that extra level of like, this is the newest technology and it's doing a great job, kind of helps to put your mind at ease. You can just simply focus on the workout. And I guess like another point on that is I noticed with this one, it can be a bit difficult to start and stop it. Whereas this one's like, I haven't had any issues whatsoever. And when you like stop it, it gives you that feedback to know it's paused. And then to actually stop the thing itself, you have to hold stop, and then it goes like 1, 2, 3. So you kind of get a lot of control, I know. And, you know, for the fact that it's got 2 buttons, a select and a back, it's actually very intuitive, which is really cool. Now, I guess another reason why I got this was it has sleep tracking. So I use it every night to sleep. And this is kind of where it's good. It doesn't have an OLED screen because that light blue light somewhat, you know, is disruptive to your sleep. But the cool thing about this is you set a sleep schedule and it kind of goes to like a night mode. And then basically it does heart rate variability tracking, similar to like what the Whoop does. And you can kind of get a sense of what your sleep score is. And obviously the Garmin to some extent like doesn't really do this. It just tracks like movement. So it's not as accurate as like a heart rate variability. So I've kind of found this really interesting to understand and unpack my recovery. And it kind of seems that with my training, it's like I'm recovering really well, and it kind of gives me the confidence to know I can go out and like crush my workouts. It could be a bit of a perceived placebo effect, but I think there's some benefit in being able to kind of get a sense of I didn't have quite a good night's sleep, or I did. I mean, you shouldn't be beholden to that, but it's just something to factor in if you're like doing really hard efforts to know you might need to take a bit more sleep or what have you. Now, there is a little bit of a con I have noticed because you set a sleep time, say for me, 9:30 to like 6. If you kind of wake up and it says you got like an okay sleep score and you want to go back to sleep, you have to kind of go back into like override it. But for me, I think what I would do in future is, I'll put a comment in this, is you can like do a nap with your watch. So if I say got up and it said I didn't sleep that well and I want another extra half an hour like I did this morning, I'd probably do like a nap feature and then see if that then updates the sleep with that nap. That's what I'm really curious about. Just like these are like fine little things. Now, I guess go onto the heart rate. Now, of course, this is all the way down here at my wrist, opposed to kind of around my chest, which people know is like more of an accurate measure. Now, I'm actually pretty impressed with it as a heart rate tracking. I mean, it's not the best, but I think it's like kind of 80, 90% there, which is kind of pretty cool to note that it doesn't really require you to have anything extra. But if I was to get something else, I'd pair it with the COROS armband because I don't really like a chest strap. For me, when I run, I'm very particular. But at least for like a bicep one, I feel like that would be just right. A lot of other people seem to advocate for that too. So I'm gonna like keep an eye out and eventually get that in future. So that's kind of really cool to see that. So I guess like my wrist is really small. So my wrist is like 6 inches. And like this, if you look at like this, it looks like it doesn't look too bad. It like it kind of just fits without looking too ridiculous. Whereas if I wear this, it's like more like bulky and stuff. So I kind of like the fact that I can, after a workout, still wear this and not look ridiculous. And, you know, I think the white was really the correct color. And you can also like adjust the, what you want for like the screen interface. I've just kept it as a default because I don't mind it. So it's pretty cool to see that. There's like, now I kind of want to get into like the other extra bonus features, which is kind of really cool. I haven't fully integrated all of them, but it's just cool to see that. So I've mentioned they've got a great running app, uploads to Strava fantastically. There's a running marathon training program that's like included with when you buy the watch, which is I think is cool. There's a way to have MP4 music on here, so you don't actually have to bring your phone. You can just bring your wireless earphones and connect them to the watch because it's got Bluetooth. So basically you can kind of just run really free and you get up to like 4 GB worth of music. You do have to have like an MP4 file. So if you like, say, listen to music on YouTube, like a whole hour or whatever, you could kind of download that as an MP4. Not that I'm suggesting to do that, but like kind of do it that way. And you've just got one file and it's just got like a whole hour or something. Or because I haven't really played the music, but it's just kind of cool to know that there is that feature for it. And then there's also like a VO2 max test in terms of if you get on the bike, no, sorry, an FTP test on the bike, which is functional threshold power, where it will connect to your power meter, I think, and it will tell you to do specific efforts on the bike to get a measure of your fitness. And then kind of on that point, this watch is very good for kind of giving you a sense of A, what your fastest times for a 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon would be. But then also it tells you your VO2 max because it's kind of measuring that the heart rate and it's kind of measuring your fastest efforts. So right now my VO2 max is the highest it's ever been. I think it's 58, 59 for a 28, almost 29-year-old. So I'm pretty happy with kind of that verification of the VO2 max. Garmin kind of had mine at 56, 57. But kind of since using that, I have hit my fastest 5K times ever, which is like 1906 and 1911 the other day, compared to my fastest ever 5K on the Garmin, which was back like 5, 6 years ago, 1931, I think. So yeah, really impressed to kind of see that. And like, I guess if I was to kind of talk about, it's not necessarily a con, but kind of the tail end of this review, there is the price. So normally this is $400 and I was a bit receptive to paying that amount considering I've already got a watch that technically still is fine. But for me, as soon as I saw this kind of get down to the $350 with shipping, I was kind of like, well, it seems worth it to try, give it a go and see what I think. And honestly, since using it for all types of runs, I've been thoroughly, thoroughly impressed. And it kind of feels like I maybe should have gotten this sooner, but I'm definitely grateful I got it now. And, you know, I really wanted to provide this review for you. And I guess if I had to say a con that I've noticed, it would probably just be that if your iPhone's connected to the app and the app's running and the watch is connected, I know that it somewhat can drain your battery. So what might be a good idea is to close out of the app on your phone and then make sure also that your COROS is the most up-to-date version. It doesn't seem to be as much of an issue now as when it was, but that's just something to bear in mind if you do experience that too. It's because I've got some big goals for running, it kind of feels quite justified to get something like this. And it feels like through using this, I am getting closer to what I'm seeking. And, you know, it just gives you that confidence in terms of saying like, you know, just anything. Like I did a half marathon the other day and it almost doesn't feel like it's on at all to watch. Like it's very, very, like it just works. And I guess what I'm trying to say is this is considered like a more entry mid-tier watch, running watch. There are more expensive running watches, but I don't think you need to go down that route and get like a $7,000 or $1,000 watch, particularly because this watch was used by, I believe his name is Adam Woods. He's a running YouTuber and he's able to run, I think a marathon of 2 hours and 18 minutes. Therefore, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for pretty much everyone else. And another bonus point I realized is if you like doing workouts at a track, like we know with 8 lanes, you can actually tell the watch what track lane you're on, and you kind of do like a little kind of lap to kind of calibrate it. And then you're basically really dialed into distance. So it kind of calculates like the curve and stuff, which I think is something really, really cool. I mean, I have an athletics track right down there, but I have to pay for it. I don't use it, but I could. So it's kind of cool to know that they've thought about that level of detail. Like, it's just true that like this really is like a running company behind this running watch, like, which is really something I'm really pleased about. And yeah, so I guess a watch like this will help you conquer your running goals. You can use any watch per se, but for me, I'd say this is a definite recommend. So it will definitely help you. Again, I pay for this with my own money. Would recommend the COROS Pace 3 to conquer your runs and conquer life. Thanks.